Hi, I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. My channel is dedicated to helping victims of narcissistic abuse get free and stay free. Before I get going with this video, I just want to take a moment to thank our friends here at the channel for your continued support. I certainly appreciate your donations to our channel's PayPal account, so thank you very much, guys. I know it's easy to say, get away from the narc, get away, stay away, go no contact, but I also know for many of you, you are still living with the narc, you are still in communication with the narc, whether that's the result of property division, court issues that are pending, or child custody issues. There could be a number of reasons why you would still have to remain in contact with a narcissist. And I've always said, whenever possible, get an advocate to mediate that stuff. But I do know many of you are still in contact. For whatever reason, you're unable to go no contact at this point, and you find yourself absolutely driven mad with frustration because dealing with a narcissist is so difficult. And I'll tell you, I experienced this too, to the point of such frustration. I'm sure I was looking like a raving lunatic trying to get through to him. I mean, everything I said seemed to fall on deaf ears. Now, I said falling on deaf ears, but we know it's so much more than that. It's not just falling on deaf ears, but what's actually happening is the narcissist is spinning every word you say. They are twisting your words. They are gaslighting you, and they are spinning it and projecting it back on you. Oh, God, if I had a dime for every time Trevor incorporated something into the conversation that I never said, incorporated some delusion, some insanity, some chaos making into the simplest of statements. And this I found to be extremely frustrating. You know, I do consider myself to be a fairly effective communicator, and I certainly do say it the way I'm thinking it. But when every single word you say is met with the spin cycle and getting regurgitated back up on you, and I'm thinking, what the hell just happened here? You know, many times I'd say to Trevor, how could you have misinterpreted that so badly? And no, he's not misinterpreting, or he wasn't misinterpreting. He was spinning it quite intentionally on me. Now, when you go to a narcissist with a truly heartfelt issue, the narc is hurting you, the narc is cheating on you, the narc is lying to you, you need some answers about their behavior, you just want the truth. I mean, you just want the truth, and you try and get some information out of the narc, and it's just spun, whipped into an absolute shit show and dumped back on you in no way whatsoever as it was presented to them. This is what I'm talking about. When you find yourself at the end of the line, I mean, just absolutely frustrated beyond belief, unable to communicate with them at all. Now, many times I've said trying to reason with a narcissist is like trying to nail jello to a tree, and that's exactly what it is. So I guess for each and every one of us, if you are still trying to reason with the narcissist, if you are still living with them, maybe you're away, but maybe, you know, you've still got some division of personal property, court issues, or maybe child custody issues, or maybe you're trying to co-parent with them. I mean, there are many reasons why it's very hard to go no contact, and we are forced to stay in contact with a narcissist. So if you find yourself in this situation where the timing is not right for you to sever all communication, and you are forced to communicate with them, well, shit, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and how frustrating, how maddening, how crazy making trying to communicate with them can be. Now, with that said, if you just go with that foundation that trying to reason with a narcissist is like trying to nail jello to a tree, I guess we each have to ask ourselves, like, how many sheets of jello would you make? How many times would you try to nail jello to a tree before you said, guess what, this isn't working? And I know myself, I personally tried far more times than I ever should have. I mean, I would say to Trevor, after considerable thought and really trying to figure out how I would word things as not to tip his very delicate sensitivities. And it didn't matter what direction I came in from. It didn't matter how gingerly I approached the situation. The end was always the same. It never ended. Just absolute mind fuckery to the point of utter rage and frustration. And it is at this point I'd often find myself acting a little crazy because truly I was being made nuts. Over and over again, I found myself unable to communicate. I found myself completely unable to get the truth. I found myself unable to get the validation or the apology I felt like I deserved, and would end up walking away from the conversation more confused, more disorientated, feeling more shame and humiliation than I had felt prior to going into the conversation. I guess we really have to go back to the Jello and ask yourself, how many times are you willing to do this? You know, they've got that saying, repeating the same act over and over again, expecting a different result is the embodiment of insanity. And so many of us felt crazy when we were with the narcissist. I felt like I was losing my mind. And if you are still stuck with the narc today, this is one way that you can really gain some control in the relationship, gain some control over the situation, and help to protect yourself. Just stop trying to nail the Jello to the tree. I mean, I know that sounds really simple, and it actually is. Now, if you consider how many times you've gone to your narc, tried to get the truth out of them, only to find yourself in a worse situation than you had been prior to making the attempt to get the truth, ask yourself, why are you doing this? The outcome is never going to be the same. The narcissist lives in such a state of grandiosity. They live in such a state of delusion. And no, there is no way to reason with them. You are never going to get through to them. And you can try and try and try to the point of utter madness, utter frustration, utter rage, and it's never going to change that fact. Now, when trying to reason with a narcissist, there are some guarantees. It's never going to end the way you want it to. You are never going to come to resolution or the truth. They are never going to admit to anything they've done. They are never going to apologize in a sincere way. Now, they may say they're sorry, but we know this is not sincere. So if you know going in what the outcome is going to be, well, who controls this? We control this. Absolutely, we have full control over this. Now, the narcissist is constantly plotting. They're constantly ready for your questions, for your concerns. They're constantly ready for this. They're constantly scamming and plotting, evil against you. So if you know this, if you know the outcome of your attempt to get the truth is always going to be the same and you're going to walk away more and more frustrated, well, hell, you're the one in control. You have always been the one in control, because if you avoid this interaction with them, you are going to also be avoiding being gaslit, being shamed, being humiliated, having the whole conversation spun on you. You're going to avoid being angry, frustrated, enraged, feeling nuts. You control all of that. And for those of you who are still stuck with the narcissist, I would strongly suggest you take this control back. All too often, the narcissist leads us to believe that they're in control, that we are flailing out of control, grabbing at straws, trying to get some foundation under us, some bit of stability, and it's just not there. So acceptance, education, recognizing this, recognizing there is no way to reason with a narcissist puts you back in the driver's seat. Now, as you've continued to educate yourself about narcissism, most certainly you've come to realize that they are slaves to the agenda. They rarely break form. You can predict what's going to come out of their mouths next. They truly are slaves to their hive mind, slaves to the agenda, where you, on the other hand, possess the ability to create the element of surprise, and this will definitely knock them off their game. Now, I can remember Trevor walking around with that crazy narc smirk on his face, feeling really smug, believing that he knew what I was going to say. And very often I fell right into that trap, asking him questions that he was never going to answer, asking for the truth that was never going to manifest. But if you sit back for a second and you really consider how predictable they are and realize that you're the one with the power because you have the ability to change the game. They really don't. Now, if the narc is walking around with that creepy look on its face, anticipating you're going to say something to them and they're all ready for you and you don't say anything, well, you're going to knock them off their game. You're going to get a little bit of revenge and you're going to save your sanity. And this is very, very important. I mean, part of the real damage is caused when a victim absolutely loses control. If you're able to see it for what it is, reel the control back in, and now you recognize that you possess the ability to control the narrative with the narcissist. If you don't say anything, well, shit, they're not going to gaslight you. They're not going to dump a bunch of projection onto you. They're not going to humiliate you, call you names, make you feel stupid, tell you you're nuts, you're crazy, you're bipolar, and you need medication. I stepped into that trap every time. Now, if you can, and I know it is a crazy making situation, but if there is a pending issue right now that you want to bring up with the narc and you sit back and decide not to do that, you have definitely put them off their game and you have taken control of the situation. And that's going to be your best bet every time. Once you're reeling out of control, you're looking nuts, you're acting nuts, you're feeling nuts, you're sick, your immune system's dropping, illness is flooding in, the whole thing just starts spinning out of control. So if you are still with the narc, if you are still in communication, try this. Just take the control back and say nothing. They're only going to lie to you anyways. That's a guarantee. They're only going to frustrate and anger you. That's a guarantee. So you're not missing out on an opportunity to get to the truth. The only thing you're skipping is the 100% guarantee that any attempt to communicate with them is going to drive you mad and frustrate the hell out of you. So if you avoid it, you've taken back your control. In the end, these things are so predictable. And if you take a moment and really consider how much control you have, well, you can end up keeping a lot of your sanity and keeping a lot more peace of mind than you've been giving away to a narcissist. In retrospect, I guess I've come to recognize that Trevor really didn't take anything from me that I had not completely given up. All of the anger and hurt and heartbreak and frustration that I was experiencing, I willingly gave to him. And if you decide today that you're not giving away any more of yourself, well, no more of you will go missing. Guys, I love you lots. You've got a lot more power in this situation than you're giving yourself credit for. If you are feeling a pending issue today that you want to bring up with the narc, zip it. Don't say a word. Put them off their game. Take control of the situation. I'm Kim. You're watching Kim Wilson TV. I hope you guys are having a great narc-free day.